Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Pierce County Council meeting for February 13th, 2024. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
Councilmember Kruger.
Here.
Councilmember Denson.
Excused.
Councilmember Herrera.
Here.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Excused.
Councilmember Morrell.
Here.
And Councilmember Mello.
Excused.
Thank you. There's 4 members present, Mr. Chair.
With four members present, we do have a quorum. There is a National League of Cities conference going on out of town that the other members are all attending on our behalf. With that, that brings us to Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and land acknowledgement. If you'll please join us in listening to the land acknowledgement, Pledge Allegiance to the flag, led by Councilmember Herrera, followed by a moment of silence dedicated to our men and women serving overseas in the military.
Got it. Okay, thank you. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Coast Salish tribes. Coast Salish people have lived on and stewarded these lands since time immemorial and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step towards true allyship, and we continue to uplift the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of the land. Please rise, if you can, for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're now at Section 4, approval of our agenda. Are there any objections to approving today's agenda as presented? I know we do under other business. We will have a short presentation, but there will be no action taken with it on celebrating the Holt decision. So are there any objections to approving today's agenda as presented? Seeing none. We will go ahead and consider that approved. On today's council agenda, there will be multiple opportunities for public comment. On the consent agenda, you may provide comment on any final action item that does not include items placed on the consent agenda for introduction or scheduling. On today's consent agenda, there are 3 appointment resolutions for final hearing. During sections 8 and 9 of the agenda, we will take public comment on each ordinance and resolution individually. And finally, under community forum, there will be an opportunity to address the council on any topic that is not on today's agenda. Please address all comments to the chair and be mindful of the decorum expected during this meeting. For more information on the rules of public participation, please review the bottom of page 1 of today's agenda. We now have the consent agenda before us. Does any member wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Councilmember Mello, or Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move approval of the consent agenda while removing item under final action C, 2A, resolution R 2024-117, moving it to section 9.
Okay. C2A is the one that he said we're going to be moving, and that is the appointment of Nathaniel Bradford. Just checking, have we had any other appointees show up that we're of? Okay. Seeing no other appointees having arrived, the motion, did you say that?
So Nate Bradford is here.
Yep. We thank you, and we'll be with you. We'll be with you shortly.
Yes. Sorry about that.
The did you frame that as a motion?
Motion to approve the consent, first removing the resolution number 2024-117 to section 9.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second before us. Any additional questions or comments? And I need to take a public hearing on this, right? On the other items, okay. This is this is a public hearing on the consent agenda on items with final action. Anyone wishing to make comment on any items on the consent agenda, please come to the podium if you're here in the room. Seeing none, then we will move to online Zoom. If you're on online, please press raise a hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone if you wish to comment on the consent agenda. Is there anyone wishing to make comment? I am not seeing any hands, so I will go ahead and close the comment on the consent agenda, bring it back to the council, and I believe we have a roll call vote on this.
Thank you. Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Morrell.
Aye.
And Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
All right. That is unanimously adopted. And now we have before us, are we in section 8? We're going to, if no one minds, we'll go ahead and take up the appointment at this time. And so I will look for a motion from Councilmember Krueger on R 2024-117.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move R 2024-117.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, could you please read?
Proposal number R 2024-117, a resolution of the Pierce County Council confirming the appointment of one new member, Nathaniel Bradford, to the Parkland Spanaway Midland Land Use Advisory Commission, and it is continued from the February 6th council meeting.
Okay. And I believe we have Mr. Bradford here with us, so I know we do. Ms. Long, do you normally introduce this? Is that, or we just take it? Okay. Mr. Bradford, thank you for joining us. We have before us the appointment to the Parkland Spanaway Midland Land Use Advisory Committee. Did you want to share with us a little bit about why you're seeking the appointment?
Yeah, sure. Just real quick. I'm at the point in my life where I wanted to figure out a way to give back in the most meaningful way that I know how. And this kind of fell right in my lap. So I'm really excited to be part of it and, to see what the future has in plan.
All right. Are there any questions from council members? And I know we'd had this open for some time. How did you find out about this opening?
It was kind of I was just searching for Pierce County to see if there was anything that I could volunteer for and be of service. And that's how I found this.
Excellent. Well, welcome aboard. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. You do a public hearing on this, right? Okay. I will go ahead and it has been moved and seconded. We do need to have a public hearing on this. Anyone wishing to provide testimony here in the room, please come up to the podium. Not seeing anyone moving towards that, I will go to online. Anyone online wishing to make comment, please press raise the hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your phone. Not seeing any at this time, so I will go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back, and see if there's any last comments from council members. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you, Nate, for taking the time to fill out the application and be looking for something to do. When I saw it, I noticed you're a construction project manager, and I know that they have to be very organized and intentional in the things that they do. And when we spoke, I was very I guess I want to say uplifted in knowing that you're connected with Compassion Washington, and they do a lot of good things for those who are in need, providing health care services and training for jobs for those who have been trafficked and those who are just at a point in life that they're kind of down and out. And so I just want to say thank you for taking the time, and I look forward to having coffee. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in, we need a roll call on this, correct? Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Thank you. Councilmember Herrera,
Aye.
Councilmember Morrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger,
Aye.
and Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
With 4 ayes and 0 nays, we have it is unanimously adopted. Congratulations, Mr. Bradford. Was it Bradford? I moved the thing.
Yeah.
Yes, congratulations, Mr. Bradford.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing your work. All right,
Thank you.
that brings us back to the regular agenda. We now have ordinances before us. And I will look to Councilmember Krueger for an ordinance on proposal O 2024-500.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I would like to move ordinance 2024-500.
Second.
Did you say the O in there?
I said ordinance 2024. I said the whole word.
That will work.
That will.
It will work. We will deem it as working. All right. Clerk, will you please read?
Proposal number O 2024-500, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council, and I'm going to turn it on. Oh, let me. All right, thank you. Proposal number O 2024-500, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council finding the proposed non-inclusive franchise agreement to Public Utilities District Number 1 of Lewis County for a wireless telecommunications system in Pierce County to be in the public interest, setting forth terms and conditions accompanying the granting of the franchise, providing for the regulations of construction, operation, maintenance, and use of the system, prescribing remedies for the violation of the provisions of the franchise, and authorizing the county executive to enter into the franchise agreement. Thank you.
All right. And we have presenting on this Mr. Cox.
Yes. Chair Campbell, members of the council, Jeff Cox, council staff. The proposed ordinance before you grants a franchise to Public Utility District Number 1 of Lewis County for the purpose of operating a wireline telecommunications system in the unincorporated portions of Pierce County. The proposal sets forth terms and conditions accompanying the grant of the franchise and regulates the construction, operation, maintenance, and use of the system and establishes remedies for violations of the franchise. The executive is authorized to enter into the agreement. The system, which you can find on Exhibit A, will extend along Washington Highway 706 from the Nisqually Entrance Historic District of the Guilford-Pinchot National Forest east to Elby with a short southern spur at Ashford, and the franchise term is 10 years. The Planning and Public Works Department recommends approval. You have in your packet documents the proposal itself, the ordinance, Exhibit A that I just mentioned, my staff report, and an equity note. This proposal received a due pass recommendation on January 23rd at the Economic and Infrastructure Development Committee. This is, of course, final action on it. And I would like to point out that we have online Mr. John Baker. He's the right-of-way agent with the Planning and Public Works Department. And we also have in the room with us Mr. Painter, Willie Painter, who's with the Lewis County Public Utility District. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Mr. Baker, who helped navigate this through the system, would be as well.
All right. Do we have any questions from council members? Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Cox, is this the first franchise agreement we've had with Public Utility District Number 1 in Lewis County?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I believe that's the case. But perhaps Mr. Painter can answer that.
Okay.
Mr. Painter, please come up to the podium, introduce yourself, and Councilmember Morrell can repeat the question if need be.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair Campbell, members of the council. For the record, my name is Willie Painter. I am the Broadband and External Funding Manager with Lewis County PUD. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Morrell. I believe we have a franchise agreement for power, electric infrastructure. This is, to my knowledge, the first time that we've engaged in a franchise agreement for telecommunications.
Okay. Well, to follow up on that, I appreciate your insight and guiding the first time through one of these agreements. I know they can be challenging. Appreciate Mr. Cox's help also in navigating that. So since this is going to be the first time, congratulations to all parties then. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any additional questions? All right. We will go and open the public hearing on this. And anyone wishing to make comment, please come up to the podium here in the room. Were you wishing to make comment on this then, Mr. Painter?
Yes, please, briefly.
Okay.
So I've already
Introduce
introduced
yourself for the record again.
Oh, really? Okay. So for the record, my name is Willie Painter, Broadband and External Funding Manager with Lewis County PUD. My pleasure to be here today to, hopefully see the council approve the franchise agreement for this telecommunications system that Lewis County PUD is proposing. This franchise agreement request was primarily motivated by a $4.7 million grant that we received from the Washington State Public Works Board for a fiber-to-the-home broadband access deployment. This project is actually one of 5 projects that the PUD has received grant funding for across our service territory. However, this is the one project that includes both Lewis County from Morton, Washington, up into Pierce County, Mineral, LB, Ashford, and up to the Mount Rainier National Park. Once this franchise agreement is approved, we are currently in the process of accepting bids for construction contractors. That bid closes on March 5th, at which time we are looking forward to commencing construction right around the May-June timeline. Maybe just a couple of other quick updates. This grant-funded build includes broadband connections to residential and commercial customers, totaling about 1,363 folks, predominantly LB and Ashford, certainly in Pierce County, but also the town of Mineral in Lewis County. With that, thank you very much, and happy to answer any other questions.
All right. And thank you very much. We'll conclude the public comment, then we may come back with more questions or comments from that. Is there, you may just want to hang there. I think we do have some questions. I'm going to check online. Is there anyone online wishing to make comment? Please press raise your hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your phone. Is there anyone online wishing to make comment? Not seeing any. I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment, bring it back to the council, and I think we do have a follow-up question here, Mr. Painter. We'll start with Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. You had mentioned a May-June construction start. Is there an estimate of how long this project would take to build out?
Yeah, approximately 180 days will be the performance period of the contract. And that is standard for these types of broadband builds, and given the scope of this build, we feel that a 180-day performance period should be more than sufficient.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Follow-up question, follow Councilmember Krueger. Is the contract that you're letting for the installation of the, whatever they call that, plastic thing they put in the ground, is that different than the provider that will eventually use the fiber or place the fiber to the homes and businesses?
Yes, it is, Council Member. So Lewis County PUD is going to operate what's called an open access network, where we will build and own and operate the core infrastructure, and then we will host a marketplace where multiple private telecommunication providers can sell internet and other over-the-top services to end users within this build area. And so by having that open access marketplace, it promotes healthy competition, which keeps rates down, customer service high, among other benefits. And so this particular construction contract that I mentioned earlier that will commence in the May, June-ish timeline is for the backbone, the fiber optic backbone construction. We will then have a separate contract to do what's called the fiber drops, and those are the drops from the edge of the public right-of-way to the side of the customer structure, whether that be a house or business.
Okay. And you think that you can then, based on doing the work now, get the providers to do the last miles and to be able to hook up in your rural community where you have limited clientele?
Yeah, the benefit of this type of build and through an open access market is the provider will not have to build the last mile at all. We will, as part of this grant funding, install the fiber all the way up to the side of the home in many situations, and that'll include what's called the optical network terminal. And then from there, once an end user, a residential customer, chooses their provider on the marketplace, then we will be able to remotely activate that customer, and then they will receive additional over-the-top services from the provider of choice, and then they will also be billed directly by that provider that they've chosen. And so the PUD is part of this network. I guess the best way to classify it is a wholesale network. We're wholesaling the service to any number of providers that are participating on our open access network.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions? I just want to say thank you for the work. Expanding broadband service has been a big goal of this council for the last several years, and so being able to do that and have people come in and actually get the job done, greatly appreciated. So thank you for all that you're doing to help us achieve those goals.
Thank you.
All right, the vote is on item number, talk about setting records here. This is our first ordinance under the new numbering system. So on ordinance number O, 2024-500, clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Councilmember Morrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger,
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera,
Aye.
and Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
All right, 4-0, it is unanimously adopted. Congratulations. Next up, we have proposal number O, 2024-501. And I'll turn to Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for consideration proposal number O, 2024-501.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Clerk, will you please read?
Proposal number O 2024-501, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council canceling certain uncollectible personal property taxes. Thank you.
All right. And I see Mr. Boki has taken the seat over there. So, Mr. Boki.
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell, Paul Boki, council staff. This ordinance will cancel $42,127 of personal property taxes levied by Pierce County between the years 2010 and 2023. The amount is made up of $29,519 uncollectible property taxes on business equipment and $12,608 of uncollectible property taxes on mobile homes. A personal property tax is assessed against certain business equipment and mobile homes due to the movement of equipment, closure of businesses, relocation, or the destruction of mobile homes. Taxes are no longer collectible. The Director of Finance has submitted a report to the Council pursuant to RCW 8456.240, listing certain personal property taxes as uncollectible. This is done annually. The amount of the write-off varies mainly depending due to business conditions in prior years. The largest write-off approved by this council was in 2017 when $1.2 million was deemed uncollectible. Much of this was due to the impacts of the Great Recession. So you see the site there of the RCW 8456-240. This was given a due pass recommendation at the January 29th, 2024 Rules and Operations Committee meeting. And Mr. Wolfgang Opitz and Ms. Katie Pedroza from our Finance Department is here to answer any of your questions.
All right. Do we have any questions at this time? And I do. I have a question. I see Mr. Opitz is there. So to be clear, and I think Mr. Boki covered this, but many times we have something that if it's coming from us as uncollectible, if it's a home or business structure or living structure or even just real property, that would go to auction. In these cases, these are most likely taxes on, and we heard it, mobile homes or business equipment that has long been disposed of through a bankruptcy or it just no longer exists. And so there's not actually anything we can take to auction. Is that correct?
That is correct. By the time this gets to you, this is down to that portion that for which there is no property to seize or distrain, or the conditions of the mobile homes are such that they are no longer sellable, or those that went to auction may not have been bought at auction. Again, for the record, I'm Wolf Opitz, Deputy Finance Director with Pierce County, and appreciate your favorable consideration of Ordinance O 2024-501.
All right. And I think that spurned a question from Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Opitz, is this like regular property taxes where you can accumulate for X amount of years before it goes to collection, or is this a different timeline that it moves to collection?
I think I'd defer to Katie, who could better describe the collection timeline. I don't believe they are in exact parallel, but there are a period of years over which attempts are made to collect. And in fact, her team, Jeff and Jason, are inordinately capable and successful at making those collections as appropriate. So she can color this in a little bit more for you, Council Member.
Thank you.
Katie, please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Katie Petroza, Treasury Manager, Fairfield County. To address the question, the mobile homes are similar in timeline as real property. 3 years become delinquent and they are up for distraint. If not sold at auction, they are then written off. But personal property business assets are a little different. There is no prescribed timeline. Once those taxes are delinquent, a variety of collection measures happen. It doesn't necessarily need to be 3 years.
You understood. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you to you and your team on work there. This is, when we think back 2017, over $1 million. This is a fairly low number. And speaks to the good work you're doing there. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I will go ahead and open up the public hearing on this. This is a public hearing on proposal number O 2024-501. Seeing no one in the room coming up to the podium, we will go ahead and go to online. If you want to comment on this, please raise your hand in Zoom or press star 9 on the phone's keypad. Raise a hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on the keypad. I am not seeing any. Okay, we will go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to the council for any last comments or questions before the vote. Seeing none, again, thanks to everyone for your work on this and diligence over the years. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kluver.
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Morrell.
Aye.
And Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
And on a vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, it is unanimously adopted. Next, we have resolution number 2024-119. And I'll go to Councilmember Herrera for a motion.
Thank you, Chair. Move proposal number R's and Robert 2024-119er for approval.
That'll be a second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Clerk, will you please read?
Proposal number R 2024-119, a resolution of the Pierce County Council amending resolution number R 2023-105, declaring certain tax title lands to be sold, authorizing the county executive to pursue disposal of the property by sale, lease, or exchange, and authorizing the county executive to sell certain tax title lands by private negotiation without a call for bids for not less than the principal amount of the unpaid taxes pursuant to revised code of Washington 36.35. Thank you.
Excellent. And Mr. Boki, I believe you're also introducing this?
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell, Paul Boki, Council staff. This resolution authorizes a sale, lease, or exchange of tax title properties. The disposal of property is done pursuant to state law as codified in RCW Chapter 3635. Tax title lands are defined in RCW 3635.020 as any tract of land acquired by the county for lack of other bidders at a tax foreclosure sale. Tax title lands are held in trust for the taxing districts. This resolution is a repeat of resolution number 2023-105 passed by the council on July 18, 2023. After passage of the resolution, several errors were found in parcel legal descriptions. Legal descriptions in Exhibit A have been corrected for this resolution, and rather than resubmit just the parcels that have been corrected, the decision was made to resubmit both exhibits in their entirety. The exhibits list 38 properties that are to be sold to the public through an online auction process and 13 properties that are proposed to be sold to governmental agencies for public purposes. The properties are located throughout Pierce County in both incorporated and unincorporated areas. Many are parcel remnants, landlocked, or platted for some other use like a road or an alley. RCW 3635.150 allows for the disposition of tax title property by private negotiation without a sale, without a call for bids in certain cases when the sale is to any governmental agency and for public purposes. 13 parcels are intended to be sold to governmental agencies, and that is in the back of Exhibit A. Pierce County is intending to purchase 11 of the parcels, 3 on the Key Peninsula and 1 each in the Gig Harbor Peninsula in the Clover Creek area, in Midland and in the Graham area on South Hill, in the Frederickson area near Bonnie Lake and near the town of South Prairie. The city of Tacoma intends to purchase 1 parcel off 67th Street that is an existing alley. The Washington State Parks Department intends to purchase 1 parcel located within the boundaries of Penrose State Park on the Key Peninsula. The fiscal impact of this, and I pulled this off the 2023 resolution, is $17,000 to Pierce County. This was given a due pass recommendation at the February 5th, 2024 Rules and Operations Committee, and Mr. Mike Gonzalez from our Facilities Department is here to answer your questions.
All right. Well, let's see what questions we have here. I'm going to start with Councilmember Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this could go to Mr. Boki or Mr. Gonzalez. On the government agencies that would like to purchase those tax title lands, is there an appraisal that is done, and do they have to pay market rate for that piece of property?
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Gonzalez from the Real Property Specialist from Facilities Management. And no, the way that it works is that if the RCW allows public entities to buy it for the past due taxes, so the principal balance of the taxes, just as if they were a person who had bid at auction, but they are allowed to do it to make the taxing districts whole.
Okay, then a follow-up question on that. Do they have to, I would assume on a government agency purchases a piece of tax title land, do they have to pay the ongoing property taxes on that parcel to fire districts, school districts, whatever?
Most likely not. We don't pay the taxes on those type of properties, so it depends on their taxing status. If they're a city, they're not going to have to pay. They're not going to have to pay the taxes, right? But other entities might have to, like a school district. But I'm not sure. I don't know enough about taxing to say.
Okay, I was just kind of curious to see how that worked. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other additional questions from council members? Not seeing any. We will go ahead and open the public hearing on item number R 2024-119. Seeing no one in the room, I will go to online. Please press the raise the hand icon in Zoom or press star 9 on your phone's keypad. Is there anyone online wishing to make comment at this time?
We don't have to this time, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no hands at this time, I will close the public hearing, bring it back to the council, see if there's any last comments. Seeing none, I do just want to thank everyone, Mr. Gonzalez and everyone else, for all your work on this. I know it's a lot of tracking of a lot of little details and a lot of conversations over lots of small little pieces of property. So, but it helps keep everything right and straightforward. So, thank you. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Morrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
And Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 0 nays.
On a vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, the proposal is unanimously adopted. Thank you all for your work on this. Next up, we have Community Forum. Community Forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on any topic that is of significance to or affecting Pierce County government, and that did not appear on today's agenda. There is a 3-minute limit. Please state your name if you would like it on the record and address all comments to the chair. I will start with those in chambers, and I don't have anyone signed up here in chambers, and so I will go to our Zoom operator for remote comments.
For any member of the public that would like to participate in the community forum, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad.
Is there anyone on Zoom wishing to make comment?
And there are no hands at this time, Chair.
Okay, not seeing any. I will go ahead and close the community forum, and we will thank you, Council Operator, for assisting with that. Next, we have other business or announcements. Is there any other business or announcement from council members? Councilmember Herrera.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring up something. Yesterday February 12th marked the 50th anniversary of the Bolt decision. The Bolt decision, we're going to get a clip of perspective of what that was and how that affected this area, was quite important here for the Pierce County area here. I'll have more remarks after the 2-minute clip. If everybody can just stand by, if you're ready to pull that up, we can do that right now.
Salmon are a pretty big deal here in Washington State. Yeah, these guys. And for local tribes, their relationship with salmon goes back, let's see, thousands of years. But 50 years ago, tribal treaty rights hung in the balance as an important court case would determine the future of how tribes would be able to fish, hunt, gather, and care for the environment. Back when European settlers showed up here in Washington, Native Americans signed treaties and ceded their homelands in exchange for retaining a handful of rights. At the top of the list, the tribes reserved their right to fish, hunt, and gather in their usual and accustomed places. That was in the 1850s, between then and the 1970s, everyone else discovered how amazing salmon are. They were harvested on an industrial scale. State authorities began illegally restricting how and where tribes could fish, making sure the resource was still a cash cow for non-tribal commercial and recreational fisheries. Tribes couldn't leave their reservations to fish, according to authorities, but non-tribal fishermen were catching salmon in the ocean and at the mouths of rivers, preventing many fish from ever reaching tribal reservations. Tribal fishers protested by continuing to fish off their reservations. Things got ugly, really ugly. Tribal fishermen and women were tear-gassed and beaten. They were illegally arrested, but when they got out, some fishermen like Billy Frank Jr. and others went right back to fishing only to be arrested time and time again. This led to the United States suing the state of Washington for breaking treaty law, and the tribes won. In February of 1974, Judge George Bolt reaffirmed tribal treaty fishing rights. His decision was later upheld in the U.S. Supreme Court. And here's the nuts and bolts of what that ruling means. Tribes are co-managers who plan fisheries with the state and share equally in the salmon harvest. The other important part of the ruling reaffirmed tribes as sovereign nations and charged them with self-regulation. This is a fancy way of saying that tribes are in charge of monitoring and tracking their own fishing. Tribes didn't stop with monitoring and regulating their fisheries. Today they have robust natural resources teams and use science and responsible management to lead the fight to save salmon populations across the state. That's the gist of what people call the Bolt decision. For 50 years, tribal treaty rights have benefited everyone who loves salmon, and that's something to celebrate.
Thank you with that. So with that, it's a quick little history of the Bolt decision. There's a lot of
metamorphosis with text-based video.
Okay. There's a lot of people who live in this county who are affected by the Bolt decision. And at the end of that video there, they talked about anybody who likes salmon is benefited by it. So, you know, the Bolt decision affirmed the rights that were signed for the 1854 treaty. But what everyone sees here in Pierce County is just the harvest. They see the tribal members fishing in the Puyallup River and netting and things like that. But part of the Bolt decision that people don't talk about much or see is the co-management part. And that is so important. So after 50 years, a lot has happened. So since that time, a lot of state hatchery funding has been scaled back from the state of Washington. Since that time, and I'll do a small snapshot of just the Puyallup tribe here that supplies fish on the Puyallup River. They have several hatcheries here. One of them is the Diaroo Creek Fish Hatchery. That hatchery feeds into the Puyallup River, and they produce over 3 million salmon. Part of that salmon is a certain species called the chum salmon, augments the all-citizen purse seine fishery out in the Puget Sound east-west pass right out that way. We have Clark's Creek hatchery that the tribe also runs. That's 2.4 million Chinook are produced there. They have the Lake Kapowsin Net Pen program, which are net pens out in Lake Kapowsin with over 250,000 coho are raised out there. They're raised out there for about a year till they're about a foot long and then released out in the river. And they have a higher chance of returning to the river because of lost habitat. They're bigger fish and they survive more. We have Wilkeson Creek hatchery that produces another 400,000 Chinook, and many acclimation ponds that raise over another million spring Chinook fishery. Now that fishery was all but extinct in the White River area almost 30 years ago, and they brought back that fishery from almost the brink of extinction, and they have a lot of fish that come back from that. If people remember from the city of Puyallup, there was a trout farm that was in the city limits that produced this trout that would stock lakes and things like that. And the state, I think, was going to sell that hatchery. And it was going to go to a private company that would produce trout to sell. Well, the Puyallup tribe put up $13 million to convert it into a state hatchery. So now that produces over 100,000 more Chinook at that hatchery. They still produce some stuff there, some trout for lakes there too. But so that's just a little snapshot of one tribe that co-managed with the state of Washington that produces millions and millions of fish for everybody. We see the benefit of that of all our pole fishermen. You see it if you drive on River Road, the thousands of fishermen fishing down there, and then we also see our travel partners, travel members exercising the treaty rights, netting the river. So I just wanted to show that part of it, the co-management part. And it's real important for the state of Washington, and I just wanted to highlight that today. So thank you for allowing me that today, Chair.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that. It's hard to believe, 50 years ago, we were literally in open warfare in this county over basic rights that were written down. If you go to the courthouse building that is now the Courthouse Square at 11th and Pacific, or 11th and A Street, you can go up to the top floor. You can actually go into the courtroom where the Bolt decision was made. And it is recognized as such because we have a federal courthouse here in Tacoma and have had for a long time, and probably the single most significant case to ever come out of that courthouse is the Bolt decision. Because what it did, not just for salmon rights and treaty rights, but also for sovereignty of our tribes across the entire state, and settled at the U.S. Supreme Court, so it actually improved sovereign rights for indigenous nations all across the United States. So very landmark, a few blocks from here that it was done 50 years ago, and changed the course that we were on to make us really part of what's a great county today. So thank you for sharing that history lesson. I hope we can get that out on our county council feed. Would be great to do that, because I'd like to get that video shared out. Thank you. Is there any other business or announcements? Okay. With no further business before the Pierce County Council, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.